really excited about this one. This panelist expert is going to be what many are going to consider to be the linchpin that brings all of this stuff together and makes it work. It's going to give you a plan. You're going to walk away with a plan when you're done here. I mean, Michelle Alderman is a certified life coach with additional master certifications in hypnosis, neurolinguistic programming, the quantum time technique, some pretty heavy stuff. And she's going to walk us through some of the things that we really need to learn right now. She's the co-founder of Richer Every Day. And that's a course designed to coaching, high-performing entrepreneurs like the top of the top, and employees reach new levels by success and retraining their brain's neurochemistry and subconscious programming. So this helps some of the elite people get to the top. She's going to share these secrets with us today. She's coached over 1,000 clients to improve their lives by observing their thought, their processes, teaching a simple framework that can be used in all areas of life. And that's what we're going to walk away with today. She teaches in order to improve your life, you must improve the quality of your thinking. And during this interview, you're going to see some times where all of a sudden there's a level of awareness that comes up that wasn't there before. And you realize, wow, this stuff is really, really important for me to understand and learn. You're going to walk away with a simple to follow plan that's going to eliminate all these blocks that cause us to procrastinate, they cause us to give up, or they cause us to settle for less than we really deserve. So if those things are important to you, pay close attention. Let's bring on our next guest, Michelle Alderman. And there she is, the great Michelle Alderman. How are you today, Michelle?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me on, Bob.
We're so glad you could join us. And you've got a big task today. I know we were talking about some of the different speakers and what they've been doing along the way here, but your task is going to be where you're going to bring this all together, and hopefully we're going to give people a plan where they can walk away with, here's what I need to be doing tomorrow morning to get my life on track and keep it on track. And I think the big word is going to be sustainable. We're going to make some sustainable changes, and that's where, when people focus on their health, they can get healthy and stay healthy, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's all information that's out there. Like, we all know that eating healthy is good for us. We all know that exercising is good for us. But why are we the sickest nation in America? So
Right.
It's how do we actually make those changes with the information that we have? And it really comes down to our thought processes. So I'm excited to share that with you today.
Yeah, I can't wait to dig in, because we talk about the I Choose Fitness movement actually came out of the pandemic because people weren't given the opportunity to exercise, work on their nutrition, work on their mindset. A lot of people couldn't even leave the house, and that, then you turn to comfort foods and you're frustrated, you're uncertain, so the mindset was shot, the nutrition was shot, the exercise didn't exist, and a lot of states are just opening up back now. So this movement came out of we really need to start to take control of all that. And then our conversation is going to be well, how do I do that? How do I fix this problem? Do you see the nation being in a bad situation right now, health-wise?
Yeah, absolutely. And what's more concerning to me is actually the mental health aspect of it. If we're not really truly taking care of our minds, then we can really create a toxicity within the body, which makes it very difficult to choose healthier foods, stick with that pattern. So there's a lot coming at us all from different angles. Our stress is higher, the feeling of overall safety. A lot of people are running to drinking or to foods to nurture themselves. And so teaching strategies, different strategies to find that nurture and to take care of themselves both mentally and physically has never been more important.
So we're going to look at, we'll try and break it into little pieces too, but one thing they all have in common is, if I start an exercise program like we've all done, we started, you get all excited, it's New Year's resolution, you're in there, you're bragging about it, you buy all new clothes, you're Instagramming it all so everyone can see how great you're doing, and then 11 days later, you're not going to the gym anymore, right? We've all been there at least once or twice in our lives. And then the same with nutrition. I'm going to eat clean. I got this new education. I want to try this new diet. And you get on it and it works and you're doing well and you're, again, sharing it with everybody. You're excited about it. Day 30, that's over. You're back to doing what you were doing. Is this where we're going to go today? Find out why this start and stop keeps happening in all parts of our life, whether it's exercise, nutrition.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a few different factors in play here, which is really, one of them is really your motivation strategy. Are you motivated by moving away from the pain? For instance, I just don't want to get sick, or I just don't want to be this size. Or are you moving towards what it is that you truly want? And so, whatever we focus on, we're bringing awareness and energy to it. And so, even if we're focusing on, I just don't want to be unhealthy, we're still focusing on unhealthy. And with weight loss clients, what I'll see is that they'll get to a certain point where they're feeling comfortable, they're out of that pain state, they can fit into their clothes, they're feeling confident, and then the diet drops off because they don't have the towards motivation, which is I am moving towards complete health and vitality. They're just motivated by I just don't want to, I want to fit in my jeans. I don't want to be uncomfortable. And so when we can motivate ourselves towards greatness versus away from pain, that's a big shift that happens. And that can help you continue on with your journey instead of yo yo dieting back and forth to the painful part because the pain is what's motivating you.
That's a great point. Like, and I didn't realize too, like, I know I do it myself. I don't realize when I'm setting a goal or an intention, I am focusing on what I want to move away from. And what you focus on grows. And if I'm saying, let's say, I know years ago I had a problem where my metabolism shut off and everything I ate, I just gained weight. I couldn't get rid of it. And I was like, I don't want to be this big. I don't want to have all this extra weight. I don't want to be overweight. And I kept focusing on what I didn't want. But you're saying at the same time, I'm telling my brain, overweight, 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 and I'm attracting things that are going to keep me there.
Exactly. Our brains do not process negatives. So you can't think of a blue tree, or you can't not think of a blue tree when I say don't think of a blue tree. So then in linguistics, it's if you say something, it's already in your mind. And the more you say it, the more it's in your mind. And then it gets into your subconscious. And so what we want to do is we want to switch all of our language and thoughts to what we want instead.
So goal setting and everything we've learned about goal setting is actually true as long as we make sure we're focused on the right mindset, like towards my ultimate goal, not away from where I am right now. Because you do a lot of work with the entrepreneurs in money, right? Money shifts, money blocks.
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of people will be like, I just don't want to be in debt. Well, what do? They get out of debt and then they go back in, and then they get
Right.
out of debt and then they go back in. It's the same thing with weight loss. And so it's all recognizing your motivation strategy and the same frameworks that will work for an entrepreneur who wants to scale his business or create passive income. The same rules apply and the same framework applies for your health and your eating habits and behaviors. What it really comes down to is our conditioned responses. So if we are conditioning ourselves to respond to things a certain way, it becomes this habitual behavior, and then it becomes completely unconscious. So we'll just naturally want to drive into that drive-through on the way home if we've done it 100 times before. And so that's where real change can really take place when we recognize, oh, I've trained myself into this pattern. I've been away from motivated, and now I can be towards motivated, and then focusing on what you want and really narrowing in on that.
That's powerful. I mean, some of the experts have talked about reversing illness and blocking illness, stopping illness, and reversing illness with our own bodies and our own brains. And the power of the brain, you're saying, can, like, if I want to be healthy, I'm not going to focus on my disease. I'm going to focus on what it's going to be like to be disease free. Now my body starts to react to that, like it's all starting in the mentality, the mindset, and then the body gets in line with it and follows.
Yeah, absolutely. Taking on a diagnosis that you're given is, that's a role. We play a role when we go to the doctor and we accept their diagnosis. We're actually telling our bodies, yes, I have this. And then so our bodies take that on. It really comes down to our belief structure. If we believe we have it, then we can kind of create it. It's the placebo effect of if we believe something's helping us, then it gives our body the extra energy to actually create what it is that we're wanting to create, and vice versa.
Yeah, and a lot of times too, you'll see people that are trying to hit a goal. They do the before and afters, but they do the afters with somebody else's photo in the meantime. Like, here's where I want to get to. And they use that as their own inspiration. They'll put it on their dashboard or on their mirror at home and say, I want to get to this point, whether it's a size or maybe somebody's going to enter a contest and they need muscles and they're working out for that goal. So that's the same thing. You're setting the intention in your mind, then your body and your soul and your mind follow what it needs to do to get to that point.
Yes, and that's a beautiful towards strategy of focusing on what you want. And I love doing this. One of my favorite things to do with my clients is to use their home as a 3D vision board. Put pictures in places that you frequent, your fridge, your bathroom mirror, that, have the affirmations that you're reminding yourself of. And so it's signaling to not only your conscious brain, but your subconscious brain of what you are to focus on.
Yeah, and it's hard to get a picture originally on what that looks like. Like, if I say I want to lose weight, then obviously I know that I'm going to be a smaller size than I am today. That's really not people's main motivation. They want to feel better. Carrying extra weight, you don't have the energy you want. You don't sleep well. You're constantly thinking about food and when the next meal is coming. That's not really a way I can picture what health looks like what does healthy look like. So if I came to you and I said, Michelle, I want to live a healthier lifestyle. I just don't have the energy. I can't play with the kids. I can't run. I don't do what I used to be able to do. I'm not sleeping well. How would I go about making a mental picture for that?
I would ask you, when was the last time you truly felt alive and healthy and vital? And then what we do is, through visualization, I take you back to that moment. And what you can do is put yourself into that moment, put yourself into that mental picture and relive that mental picture of perfect health, vitality, energy, sleeping well, all of the things that you want to create again. And what you can do is you can anchor this state into things as well. I have one client I'm working with where we've anchored in every single time she picks up her tea in the morning, she automatically slips into this state of perfect health and vitality because that's what we've anchored it to, and that's before she goes into her day. So if you've heard of conditioned responses in Pavlov's dog, our bodies get trained to what we want or don't want. Either way, they're getting trained.
Right.
So if you can do it with intention and start your morning off, have a little bit of a routine and wake up your body, go back to that favorite memory. Go back to that time. Feel what you felt in that memory. What did you hear in that memory? What was the temperature that day? Really, really make it as vivid and real. Then your body doesn't know, well, your brain doesn't know if it's actually a visualization or if it's happening in reality. It's all the same, neurologically speaking.
Oh, that's cool.
And so what that does is it trains your brain's neurology to accept the vision and the visualization as the reality, and your body follows.
Yeah, and that falls right in line with what we've been doing here. The I Choose Fitness movement started because of the pandemic. We were locked down. We didn't have access to everything. So it was like, you still have a personal choice. You still say, I want to be healthier. I want to choose fitness. I do it every morning. My alarm goes off. I no longer hit snooze. During the pandemic, when we were locked down, there wasn't a lot of reasons to get out of bed. Like, everything was shut down. You're frustrated. Now it's like I jump up before the alarm goes off, and my first thought of the day is I choose fitness. And fitness to me means I'm going to get better exercise. I'm going to eat better, and I'm going to work on my mindset. And I have plans to do all those. So what you're saying is I automatically have that mindset from the beginning of the day. I anchor it to my alarm. She anchors it to her tea in the morning. Like, the alarm used to mean one thing to me. Now it's like, if that thing goes off, I failed already. I want to be up and at it already. So mine is anchored. And I didn't realize I did that until you just started describing that. And we could do that throughout the day too. Like, you would set up intentions or anchors around the house, around the environment each day.
Yeah, our environment is so powerful, and it's a tool that a lot of people haven't really tapped into. With people who are just first on their weight loss journey, they'll clean out their environment. They'll take some of the foods out of the house that aren't serving them, and that's great. And another thing that you can do is add in visual representations of how you want to be, how you want to feel. Allow yourself to access that feeling. Because here's the thing. We all do, and you mentioned this earlier, we all do things because of the way we think it'll make us feel.
Right.
What we forget is we can feel that on purpose now. And when we do that, and the more that we do that, we actually call everything in quicker. So, for instance, with clients who want the bigger house so they can feel peace, I encourage them to find ways that they can feel peace now. Because the attachment to something, because they want it so badly, is actually focusing on the pain of not having it.
Ah,
So when you can exercise like a muscle, you can exercise the neurology of feeling that appreciation as if it's already been done and living in that moment of like having already accomplished it. And it starts to dissipate all of the motivation for the old ways of doing things because it feels so great how you want it.
so if I took some time and I just looked around at my entire life and did like a summary of where I am, where I want to be, how I've gotten here, where I've come from, I kind of manifested all that over the years just by these focus points throughout like for the
Mm-hmm.
month, for the year, and they're all added together. And the sum of where I am, it's just all those little decisions along the way.
Yeah, absolutely. We get to think on purpose and we get to create our lives, and our lives are created by our thinking. And so what we focus on matters, and it matters more than ever because we're so inundated with toxicity in our environment. And
Right.
so when we subscribe to the news and when we're, reading all this hype and sensationalized media that creates more cortisol and fear in the body, we're already moving into an unhealthy state just by observing that in our environment. The cortisol weakens the immune system and our immunity falls, which makes us more susceptible to the thing that we are observing.
Right.
And so when we think,
Wow.
oh my gosh, maybe I'm not safe, then you are in turn creating that for yourself because you're creating the thought of, I'm not healthy, and the body feels stress, raises cortisol, lowers the immune system, and you're more susceptible to getting sick.
So how would you recommend, like it's everywhere. We're inundated by negativity, fear, sensationalism. I go into a gym, there's 30 TV sets on. 28 of them are showing the same negative story in different slants with a different person standing there, but the same background. Like, how do I turn that off? How do I stop letting that seep into my mindset?
I am so glad you mentioned that because that is my biggest pet peeve. Because what we're doing is when we're in an exercise state, we're actually in trance. And as someone who's studied hypnosis, I know the power of trance. And when you're on the elliptical or on the treadmill and you're kind of zoning out, but there's all these TV screens showing you the bad news, you're more susceptible to taking that information in. So being really, really mindful of your environment. I won't go to like nail salons that just show the news. I won't go to, I will find a place in the gym where I am away from a TV and I'm really, really selective with what I consume for my body with food and what I consumed with my mind and thoughts. We
That's
can
really
control our
powerful.
environment. Yeah.
And I'm sure on this call too, because we invited gym owners from across the country to not only be here, but bring in all your folks, bring in all your members and your prospects and people from the community to watch this. The gym owners really should be paying attention to what they have running inside their environments. Like, right? If you know
Yeah.
that
I
I'm in a
mean,
trance,
yeah, exactly. And what a beautiful opportunity. What
yeah,
a beautiful opportunity to install amazing belief systems in people, to install health and vitality, to really lift people up to the place where they want to come in because they feel better. They're not quite sure why,
right.
but they feel really good in that atmosphere. So if you can design the atmosphere for all positivity, encouragement, growth, health, then people are just going to keep coming back.
That's amazing. When you talked about while I'm working out, I'm in a trance, because I never heard that. And I know it's true because it happens to me where I'm working out, just staring at a TV screen because I don't watch the news. I really am turned off by what they're doing to us with
Mhm.
the way they sensationalize stuff. And I'm staring and I am in a trance. I'm just absorbing everything that's on that screen, even though I can't hear it. I'm just staring at it. And then there's another one
Mhm.
there. And I've had a half hour of this negative brain dump. And sometimes I feel it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it gets us on a cellular level. When we're in a trance, we're really, really susceptible to things going into the subconscious. And so when that happens, like what we can do as a society is remind ourselves to come from a place of empowerment. The gyms are doing the best they can. They
Right.
are serving customers in the best way that they know how. What we can do is we can ask for different options. Say, hey, this is really heavy and making me feel like not great. It's actually really heavy and it's not a very pleasurable experience. Would you mind putting on, I don't know, the Food Channel or
Right.
design stuff or um, Animal Planet? Anything that's going to promote a feeling of joy and happiness.
I was in an airport recently and they had a channel that I was glued to it because we had a delay, and it was called Happy Videos. And it was just a silly string of little kittens rolling around with a piece of yarn and little kids
Mhm.
playing or a sprinkler going off in someone's face, just stuff that made you laugh. And that was one I don't think I was in a trance, but I was like, that's enjoyable. I wish that was everywhere, because
Yeah.
every other one you smiled when you saw it. It was just that type of thing. And feeding that to our subconscious minds got to lift our spirits more than the negativity.
Absolutely. It's such a powerful tool, especially if you're a business who has people in your waiting room. Having like Chive TV has a few different offerings, and I think, yeah, Happy TV is one of them. But it's like you can tune your clientele before they even come back into the office, and you can put them in a positive state. You can control the environment and control their moods,
And
essentially. It's very hard to come in really upset after watching like babies laughing and puppies,
right,
it's
right.
very difficult. And what it does in our body is so remarkable. It completely changes our biochemistry.
So is that why I've been going to the airport every day since and just sitting there watching the TV? Like I'm now addicted to that. No,
Yeah.
I
It's the dopamine response. It's when you know where to go for serotonin and dopamine and those neurotransmitters, it creates a habit just like how high sugar, high fat foods do the same thing.
right.
And so like this is a really quick, easy swap is like instead of going for food to feel good, you could go to funny videos and feel good that way.
So tell me about that. Let me dig down a little bit on the dopamine hits and like when I'm watching that, my brain is producing chemicals
Mhm.
and those
Yeah,
chemicals make me feel good.
yes, absolutely. And so what happens when we're in a really stressed state and we're feeling a negative emotion, we will tend to want to avoid feeling that. We're not so great at feeling our feelings these days.
Right, right,
And being able to sit with them and urges for food, being able to just sit with them and they come on like a wave and they'll pass. But if we have an inability to sit with a negative emotion or sit with a urge and a craving that your body doesn't need, then what we'll end up doing is we'll end up going to sources where we can find a reason to get a dopamine hit. And that is, much like a drug addict going for a drug. It's we're so conditioned to seeking pleasure by any means possible, especially when we're feeling a negative emotion. So watch the news, rise of cortisol and stress hormones. Then we're feeling uncertain and scared, and what do we want to do? We want to self-soothe. So we
right.
go to food, or we go to alcohol, or we go buy something, because that's another way. It's, most of the population, that's the typical response. Now, there are others who have chosen and found that they can get dopamine hits and serotonin from exercise and
Mm-hmm.
actually endorphins as well. So once you've trained your body to seek food, you know that you can still train your body to seek the same happy chemicals, just in a different modality. And the process to do that is just patience. You have to just constantly remind yourself, like, okay, that's worked for me for a while. But now I'm training my body to seek happiness, joy, the feelings I want to feel by doing this instead.
Yeah, and the endorphins, I think everybody that's worked out knows that correlation between producing endorphins, and it makes you feel better. Like when you join a gym, the day you join, you feel better. Like you didn't do anything yet. You just joined and you walk out of there with a swagger and look at me now. And your body's rewarding you for making a good, positive decision. Same with if you go shopping and you're in the good aisles picking all the good food, you kind of roll out with that cart with a little bit of swagger too because you feel good. Your body's rewarding good behavior. But right now, I think sometimes we get confused. What is good behavior? What's not good behavior? Or we don't have the chance to do that because there's so much negativity on top of everything. And that's difficult, right? To clear out the negativity first and then make room for the endorphins. Or if I just focus on the feel goods, the doing the right thing, will the negativity go away? Will it subside?
Well, I like to teach my clients that everything that happens in their environment is actually completely neutral. And so anything that's going on is neutral until we have a thought about it. So even if we're watching the news, something happened, then we decide, oh, that's bad. Oh, I'm in danger. And so reminding people that they have choice, that their thoughts are not them, and that when they can observe their own thinking, true and lasting change can happen because you're no longer susceptible to your environment. You're able to have choice in the matter. Now, our environment does influence our thinking, but learning to observe your thoughts, you can intentionally choose differently. So, for instance, going to the gym and having a bunch of TVs on that or having news on, that's not going to give you the results that you want. You know that. And so you are now in a position of choice and you get to decide what you want to think about it. You can decide, you know what, I'm not really sure if this gym is right for me. Or you can decide, you know what, I bet these gym owners are doing the best they can and they just don't know that this is not really what I want to watch. And so we get to decide what we think. And no matter what we're thinking, it's always how we feel. Like our feelings are tied directly to the thoughts that we're thinking. So if we're feeling a negative emotion, we're feeling stressed, we're feeling something, really clue into what are you thinking? What are you thinking that's creating this feeling in your body?
We hear that too. We do a lot of follow-ups and interviews and surveys with the people that are, thinking about coming in. Maybe they set an appointment to come to their gym and then they cancel it. And their reason is, I'm uncertain, I'm unsure. Here's what I heard. There's a variant out there. I don't know. And they're taking the one thing that can help them the most is building their immune system and putting it on the shelf because they're uncertain about something they heard. And so they're procrastinating the actual thing that should be helping them. Like you just said, they're thinking about what they just heard. So it's a thought that creates the feeling. And next thing you know, they're not coming in for their appointment.
Right. And
I have to cut you off here because you just brought it to a level of awareness that I didn't realize is all in our control. Like if I get that feeling of uncertainty, I could just stop and go, wait a minute, what's making me feel this way? And I'll pay attention to what I'm thinking about. Well, I just heard this on the news, or somebody's talking about the new variant, or the flu season's around the corner, whatever it may be that put that thought in my head.
Yeah, our feelings are like the tip of the iceberg, and our feelings are how our bodies communicate to us. And so usually our negative feelings and emotions that we don't want to experience are tied to our thinking. And it's like our body's saying, hey, we're focusing on the wrong thing. I don't want to do that. I don't like that. Let's not focus on that. And so asking yourself, like that's my biggest indicator. It's like, oh, I'm feeling stressed, or I'm feeling like there's not enough time, or I'm feeling like I don't want to go to the gym. It's like, okay,
Right.
why? Why do I not want to go to the gym? Let's examine this. Let's observe this. And you can get to the root thoughts of, oh, because it's painful. And a lot of people go into the gym and instead of loving themselves into a better version of themselves, the typical path is to beat themselves up. And it's really hard to continue beating yourself up and want to go back.
Right.
So
Right.
the thoughts that we have about ourselves in the gym is vitally important. And when we can make the gym fun, when we can make it a release, meet up with a friend and have a routine, find some way to really make it enjoyable and really reward yourself for any single noticeable difference at all. And, a lot of people have said, like, oh, I've tried this before and it didn't work.
Right.
Okay, well, that's a thought. Another thought that's also true is, hey, I'm going to keep trying things no matter what. And so a lot of us will look to our past and observe things through a certain lens based on what our thoughts were. So I've tried all these things, they didn't work. And you got to like examine that. Is that really true? Did none of them work? Or did they work a little bit? Oh no, I lost like 5 pounds and I gained it back. Okay, so you've tried many things and you've had success with many things. What's stopping you now?
So can we role play on that? Can I like be? I'll be the typical person that just is ready to give up before they even start.
Okay.
And I could probably do it well because I've been there. Like I've been the one where I've done that, or I tried that diet that didn't work. Exercise, yeah, I don't know. These gyms are too crowded, and I just come up with excuses and reasons.
Hmm.
So I believe that I can't stick to the program for whatever reasons I've had in my past, and I come to you and I say, Michelle, I really want to put fitness at the top of my priority list, but I've tried in the past and I failed. Why should I bother this time? Like, what's going to be different this time? How would you help me get through that clutter and get to the other end?
I usually start with a thought download. And this is like, okay, tell me everything that's going on. Tell me everything that you're feeling and thinking. And so what usually happens is that there's a long list of things, and then I isolate just the facts. So often we run through circumstances, we run them through our own filters, belief systems, and when we have judgments and thoughts about it. But when we can isolate just the absolute facts of the situation, a lot of awareness is built just from that alone. So I would ask you, what exactly have you tried?
Well, I've tried buying organic food, and it's expensive, so I got away from that. So that didn't work. So I'm back to eating what I used to eat, just whatever I can grab. I'm really too busy to make good quality meals anymore. So I just kind of find myself eating all the wrong things, but I've tried to fix it and it just doesn't work. Not for me. I'm
Okay.
a busy person. I don't have time to eat healthy.
Yeah, so that is a thought model really around food and time scarcity and the effort and energy for organic food or healthy food. And so that would have its own specific thought line, and the circumstance would look something like healthy eating. And the thought is, I don't have time and it's too expensive.
Mhm.
And then we would go into conversation. And I would ask, well, what if you don't adopt new behaviors now? Then what happens? How long is your life then? To really drive down this issue of time and time scarcity and how much time we have on this planet if we continue the habits that we have had. And so what that does is the total reframe on the problem. And so the new thought that I would recommend you live into is, I have way more time in life when I make time for this now.
Right then the energy level is up, and when I make time for this, because I can finish that thought process too, is where when I make time for this, I leave, I have more energy, I can get up earlier in the morning, I can stay up later at night, I'm not passing out right after I finish my dinner.
Mhm,
So there's an extra 3 hours a night just because I did a 40-minute workout.
mhm.
And that's like, I like that, where I'm actually thinking through my own objection, which was I don't have time, or it's too expensive and I don't have the time. Not really when I compare the alternative to it. So now
Right.
that again, you did it again. You brought it to a level of awareness where I look at it, I go, yeah, that really doesn't make sense. Just like I'm not
Mhm.
going to work out now because I'm afraid there's another illness out there. Well, that should be the reason you want to work out more, is get your immune system as strong as possible right now.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
you get the thought to come to the top.
Mhm.
And the thoughts you said are attached to my feelings, or I feel a certain way about these thoughts. Do the feelings automatically change when you have a different thought?
They do, yeah. So I walk people through a framework called the model, and this was invented by Brooke Castillo. And the model is kind of like explaining gravity. Like it's just how things work every
Okay.
time. It works in every circumstance. So what happens is there's an external event that happens, and it can be proven just by facts. It is like I signed up for the gym, have gone 0 days. Just facts. And it's completely neutral until we have a thought about it. So for this circumstance, let's say signed up for the gym, gone 0 days. The thought is, why go? I'm just going to quit anyways.
Right.
And from there, the feeling is discouraged. So we go circumstance, thought, and just one feeling, because you can have one feeling that's created from that one thought. And then that feeling drives all of the actions or inactions, habits, and behaviors, uh, which creates our results in life. So
Wow.
again, the model is circumstance, thought, feeling, actions, what you do and don't do, both cognitively, physically, in any other form. And then that is what creates your results. So people try to just do things,
Hmm.
work out, eat better. They're all in the action line, they're all in the doing, but they haven't figured out the thought that they need to think in order to feel the way that they need to feel to do all those actions.
So you're reverse engineering that model when you're describing it like that. Like you're saying, here's the actions you're doing, but here's why you're doing them because of the feelings you have around the thoughts that you have.
Yeah, and it can go either way. You can go, this is the thought I'm having, and then observe how you show up,
Mm.
how this is the thought I'm having. This is how it makes me feel. And then these are all the things I do and don't do, which is how we show up in the world. And then that's what's creating our results. Or we can ask ourselves, what are the results that I want to create? And what are the things that I have to do in order to create that result? And what do I have to believe about myself or the world that will drive me to feel the way that I need to feel in order to do all those actions?
And the actions, if I have this right, like I start doing positive actions, I start taking a step towards getting out of the house, showing up at the gym or exercise, or even walking around the neighborhood. I start doing those actions. I feel better. I get that little hit of dopamine and good
Mhm,
job, Bob. And I'm strutting again. Look at me. Look what I did. I tell
mhm,
everybody I know I walked a mile in my neighborhood tonight. Like I'm proud of myself.
mhm,
And those good feelings make me want more of that. So then tomorrow comes around. I want to do something similar to that so I get those feelings again. The
mhm.
feelings are a reward to my actions. It's like, here you go. Now do it again. It's incentive to keep doing the right thing.
It can be, and that's because you're having a thought about it. So you're doing an action and then you're thinking, "Oh, good job, Bob."
Right, right. I
So
got you.
then the feeling is actually from the thought, "Good job."
Okay.
But they can build on each other. Now, if your thought about going for a walk around the block was, "Man, you really should have gone longer."
All right.
Then how does that feel? And that's the trap with a lot of people who go to the gym is that, "Oh man, I'm just not getting the results I
Wow.
want. Oh man, I should go harder.
Yep.
Oh, that other person looks way better than me." And those are all creating just, sucking the life out of your feeling. I like to think of your feeling line as like the energy that it's the gas in the tank. And so when we think thoughts that are unmotivating, we've got very little drive to do the things that we need to do. So understanding what thought do I need to think that's going to make me feel energized and excited, which is like, I'm going to go and do 15 minutes of cardio. Sure, it's not a lot, but I made a commitment to myself and I'm going to be proud if I do it. And then allowing yourself to feel that pride when you do it is another thought. They're like, I've completed something. Yay. But it's also living into your identity. So what I like to train people to do is even if it's just putting on your yoga pants and tennis shoes and going outside and coming back in, you can feel accomplished. Allow yourself to feel accomplished. If you got to the gym, give yourself a huge reward.
Right.
Like, allow yourself to feel that, because that's going to keep you going. And then you can tell yourself, even if it's 5 minutes, I don't care if it's 5 minutes, I am a runner. I ran 5 minutes today. And then you start to take on that identity of I am a runner. And whatever you think and whatever you believe gives you a lot more motivation to continue doing that thing, because you're now associating your identity to it. So not beating yourself up for the amount of time is very important.
We lay out fitness as a definition is fitness is a combination of exercise, nutrition, and mindset. The way you're describing mindset right there, it's the linchpin that makes it all work. If you take that out by bad thoughts, just as something as simple as a thought, when you said, I just did 5 minutes on a treadmill, I should have done more, I immediately identify with that. Like, I think I do that, but I think most people do that too, is it's not good enough. Like, that 5 minutes on a treadmill is not good enough. And as soon as you think that flow that you followed up with, which is the feelings and the actions after that, it starts to come apart. And that I never understood why mindset can undo a good, healthy exercise regime and eating better. And all of a sudden it's not working while my mindset keeps on doing it. And I don't even realize it's happening. Right. Or you compare yourself to something that's unrealistic for you. Like, I'm not going to be lifting 500 pounds this week, no matter what I have to do. I just won't be doing that. I'm not in that position. But if I compare myself to someone that's doing that, I feel like a failure.
Right. And so that's the power of observing your own thoughts. Really, truly taking a moment to pause and ask yourself, why do I not want to do this? What's holding me back here? What am I feeling about this situation? And what thought is driving that feeling? And then from a place of awareness, it's like we get to try on different thoughts. Okay. I explain it to my clients like it's like trying on a shirt. You're like, all right, I'm going to try on this thought. How does this thought feel? Like, oh, this thought feels great. I'm going to think of this one.
Okay.
Yeah.
We get to think. And if you don't like the way that feels, then you take it off and put on the next thought, right?
Yeah, because some thoughts can seem so novel, but if they don't give you the feeling that you need, then move on to a different thought.
Right. Now, you said something, and I guess this is the starting point. This was pretty interesting, that the circumstances are neutral. You said they're neutral. Like, they have no meaning. They're not right or wrong. They just are. They are what they are. And it's then that your circumstances will create the thought. Well, that's where the thought comes from. So, for example, a lot of the states were locked down where I can't exercise. That's the circumstance, right? So my
Actually,
next
that's a thought.
Oh, really? Like, the gyms are locked down, so I can't work out, as a thought to the circumstance that gyms are locked down.
Exactly.
Oh, that's
the gyms
deep.
are locked down. The gyms are locked down. Neutral.
I immediately attach a thought to it and try to make that the feeling. Oh, wow. Yeah. So, okay, I get the neutral part now. Like, I can't control whether that gym is opened or closed, but what happens next is what my thought that I attach to that circumstance.
Yep. We cannot control outside circumstances. We can only control what we think about it.
I honestly try to control outside circumstances a lot.
A lot of people do.
Doesn't work, but I continue to try. Like, is there a way that I can stop trying to change the world?
Well, it's good to have an influence on, and make an impact and do things. Right. But when you are feeling like all the circumstances are affecting you, then that can kind of promote a victim mentality. Right. And this is the inverse of that, or the opposite of that. This is knowing that your outside circumstances don't have to determine your internal state. Only you get to determine your internal state. So there can be a lot of things happening outside, but we get to decide what we want to feel by thinking on purpose.
Why do you think there's such an uprising victim mentality out there? Like, I've definitely seen a big difference in the last couple of years.
Yeah. It's simply awareness. Awareness. A lot of people just don't realize that they are not their thoughts. It's like an unobserved mind is a lot like toddlers running around with scissors.
Okay.
And that's how most people live without like, whoa, those are like some dangerous things running around. Like,
Right.
let's
Right.
like hold on here. Let's like take the dangerous objects away,
Right. That's
make a
great.
peaceful, happy environment, and then we can move forward from here.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
like that analogy.
it's really the awareness. A lot of people think that their thoughts are true without taking a moment to pause and ask like, where did that thought come from? A lot of it is thoughts that we've been conditioned to from our childhood.
Hmm.
Like with Richer Every Day and our money and financial health clients, it's a lot of childhood beliefs about money that they adopted from their parents.
Hmm.
And so we pause and we're like, okay, where did that thought come from? That work has to be hard, that you have to grind. Where did that thought come from? And then I take my clients back through hypnosis and we find the roots of these things. And from that place, we can heal it. We can also do this consciously too without hypnosis and really ask ourselves on our own, run it through the model. What's the circumstance? What are my thoughts about it? What's the feeling? And what are the actions? What's the result? And then go back to the thought line and ask yourself, where did this come from? Is this mine? Do I want to keep it? Is it helpful? And is it useful to me? Or am I going to try on a different thought and create my own reality?
Now, I want to put, I'll put a link to the model, that worksheet where you
Mm-hmm.
can, how many of these models a day, a week, a year, like what do you see the average person doing that really wants to get to the next level with any of this?
Honestly, I do it as many times a day as I possibly can. Anytime I'm feeling conflicted about something, I run it through a model. Or anytime I recognize that I'm coming into some resistance, there's like, say, I've got a lot of work to do, but I'm really wanting to go hang out with friends. Well,
Hmm.
that's kind of avoiding the work I want to do. Why am I avoiding it? Oh, because I'm thinking it's going to be hard, it's going to be boring, it's going to be, X, Y, and Z. Now, if we change our thoughts to, I can't wait to get done with this work, so then I can go hang out with my friends, then it shifts things. So we are in full control, and reminding people of this and reminding people that they can pause any moment, decide something different for themselves. Each moment is new. We don't have to keep reliving our thoughts from the past. They got us to where we are now. But if
Right.
we want to create this new life for ourselves and become whoever we want to become, we need to think on purpose. So with my clients, I say it as often as you can. Like I've written it on my hand, I've written it on a napkin, like just getting out that model so that I can really see it in real life and I can observe my thinking in pen and paper out in the real world. And let me tell you, most of the time, when I really get to the root thought, I'm like a little embarrassed. I'm like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I was thinking that the whole time. Like, no wonder why I couldn't get the results I wanted because I was thinking I wasn't worth the results.
Right. Yeah. And
Mhm.
a lot of times that's probably what comes up, and we picked it up years ago and we've been carrying it 20, 30, 40 years with us, carrying it around as if it was
Mhm.
fact.
Yep.
And when you were talking about working with your folks at Richer Every Day, money blocks can be something as simple as money's the root of all evil, or money is evil. And if you learn that early on and you hold on to it, even now you're a good person doing the right thing, but you believe money's evil, you'll sabotage your own success because you don't want too much evil coming your way, right?
Yeah,
Subconsciously.
absolutely. And subconsciously, too, with weight loss clients, there's often, with a few clients, I've found that there's this feeling of unsafety when they lose the weight. So the weight has been this protective comfort layer that helps them become invisible or, whatever the thought may be, that's been like protecting them for a long time.
Right.
That's been their strategy to self-soothe. But yeah, getting down to the bottom of it, of like really diving in there and observing your thoughts and getting to the deepest layer of the thought as you can. Like, well, why do I think this? Okay, why do I think that? And going as deep as we can to really get to the core belief. And then from the state of awareness, you can make better choices and give yourself compassion for thinking the thought that you had for so long. A lot
Mm,
of the times we'll want to just like beat ourselves up or be embarrassed. Like I've felt
right,
that way many times of like, oh gosh, yeah, okay, let's just like throw that away. But we need to honor our past behaviors because it's gotten us to where we are now.
right.
But those strategies just simply aren't going to work to get us to where we want to go.
Yeah, this is great. This is so helpful because it's laying out like a guide, a map of here's where I am, here's where I want to be. The visualization that you talked about early on gives me incentive, motivation. It helps my thoughts stay focused on the things that I want, not the
Mm-hmm.
things that I don't want. So automatically that model starts to take shape. Like I'm thinking better thoughts, which means I'm feeling better. Just like I said, when you walk out of the gym, you got some swagger, you came out of
Mm-hmm.
a healthy supermarket run, you're like, you feel good about yourself because you're taking care of yourself. And
Mm-hmm.
then you're going to see better results because of that. And it's a cycle. It keeps going and going.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, and one thing that's really important to be aware of too is that we are so addicted to our food, especially
mhm,
the processed food. And understanding that these urges, these almost uncontrollable feeling urges, are not you. It's the food that's been chemically engineered to be highly, highly addictive. So the thoughts when you're moving into this for the first time, or you're doing that first grocery run and you've removed all the unhealthy stuff,
mhm,
being your thoughts about you need to be very, very soothing and giving yourself a lot of grace and peace because you're going to go and you're going to feel that urge and you're going to feel that negative feeling and
mhm.
want to avoid it at all costs. So you've got to understand, like, and soothe yourself and just tell your body, okay, I'm just overcoming this chemical addiction to the processed foods. It's going to take a day. And then
Right.
tomorrow, it's going to take one more day.
That's
But
good.
your self talk is so important in that because it's not only your thinking, but we're biochemically addicted to the foods.
Yeah, and that's engineered that way too. We were just talking.
Mhm.
Actually, it was Dr. Tori was talking about. Um, she's really recommends organic food because everything in there is pure, it's natural. There's no preservatives, there's no chemicals on it, and that's why they got the term organic food. So even though you're eating healthier, if you're not eating healthier foods that are organic, you may be picking up some toxicities along the way, as opposed to the foods that you're addicted to. So that's why people go, this is overwhelming. And really, it's just a little change here, a little change there. And over the course of the month, these little changes add up.
Absolutely. And really reward yourself for any small change that you've made. Like, say you just decide with produce, you're like, I'm just going to start here and just switch to organic.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'm just going to have one less packaged meal a day. Whatever the small steps are, don't give up because, like you said, these steps build on each other.
Mm-hmm.
And with the more food that you remove from your diet that has chemical additives, the more thought clarity you're going to experience as well, and the less urges for these foods as well. So weaning yourself off, always be weaning yourself off in a process of your evolution of you getting healthier and healthier every day. This isn't an overnight thing. You are becoming a different person, and that takes time. So give yourself the permission to take as much time as you need, but don't give up.
Yeah, and what makes it exciting, the way you lay this out, is I am in control of thoughts. So if I catch myself in that spiral of negative thought after negative thought, or I'm distracted by all the negativity on the TV, I'm in control of replacing it with good ones. Let me go back to my goals. Let me go back to what I've done positive this week, or the gratitude journal that everybody talks about. You can look at things that you're grateful for and immediately change your thought process at that point. So we're
Mhm.
in control of that. I just love the way
Absolutely.
you have the ability to bring this to a level of awareness right away. Can you do that for yourself as easy as working with other people?
I can, but here's the thing, even coaches, even the best coaches,
Uh-huh.
still get in their own stuff. And so I would never go without a coach because I can't observe things about myself that somebody else can. What I may think is the truth and just how things are. It can be reflected back to me by another person who has a different perspective. And so becoming your own best coach is so vital and so important to creating the life that you want to create, but also align yourself with people who can be that mirror for you and who can shine back your greatness, even if you may not see it.
Very important. Yeah, we do have a blind side. And like I said, when we do the introductions before we actually bring you in, the reason we do that is you don't even believe what you hear about yourself when someone's repeating it back to you. You know, it's like we have that built into us as humans, like, oh, come on, all right, enough is enough. And at the same time, we're like, more, you know, so there's a little battle there. But when someone else points out your blind side, it's important to listen to that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, especially because other people can observe patterns that you are so unconscious of. So seek a coach, seek a fitness instructor, seek support, and invest in yourself. Investing in your own health and investing in a coach who can walk alongside you through this process is so important, and it pays off so greatly in the end because you are really turning into the person that you want to turn into. And having that support is going to be the biggest thing that you can do for yourself.
Mm. Yeah, that's critical. Now, what would you say to the person who's listening to this and they say, Michelle, this makes so much sense. I've got all these demons or gremlins are talking to me, right? They're in my head. They're talking, this won't work for you. And here's why. Like, what do you say to them to quiet the gremlins and let's take a step forward?
Yeah, I would encourage them to observe it with curiosity.
Mm.
A lot of the times we can take on things that don't belong to us. And we'll hear a phrase. Actually, just I was working with a client the other day and he went and test drove a Range Rover and suddenly he had a thought of, you don't deserve this.
Mm.
And that is like the gremlin speaking up, if you will. And so with curiosity, you're like, you're first observing that it may not be yours, that this
Right.
thought just came in. You can decide if you want to take it in. You can be curious about it. I like to be curious about it because you're like, oh, where did this come from? And then you find out. Whatever you ask your mind, like everybody's mind is the most fascinating, magical machine. It's like a Google search engine.
Yeah.
Whatever you type into that bar with a question mark, your brain will deliver to you. Trust it. Trust what comes up. So ask yourself, where did I get this thought?
Huh.
And then you're like a detective and you get to understand the root of that thought and then decide otherwise.
And there's no timeline to feelings. Like if you start digging in on a thought you're having and it makes you anxious, like if I'm picking that up from my childhood, it's just as strong today as it was when I was a child, right? Like time doesn't change the feeling behind the thoughts.
Not necessarily, except the fact that the more practiced the thoughts are, it kind of becomes this like default operating system. And it's the software, like our body is the hardware and our minds are the software. It's the operating system. And so the more we're repeating those memories and repeating the thoughts, the more it just goes into the default mode. Right. And it takes a little bit to intentionally think differently and create those new neurological pathways. So giving yourself some patience, and then what you can do is with affirmations, continue saying the same thought to override the past. It's like going to the gym and only working out one side of your body. Like you've only been thinking this negative thought for so long, and now you've got to work out the positive thought that can override the negative thought. A great way to do this is to think the thought with emotion. Feel the feelings. Take yourself into a vivid visualization of this thought being the absolute truth in the universe, and bring in your body sensations. Like, what do you hear in the background of this picture? What are you experiencing? What is the color of the sky? Really make it vivid, and your brain won't know what's what.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because we all want to look better and feel better, and we can just, go for the information that's going to help our bodies do what it's supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. Now, what's your final thoughts on this? If we, as a society, took health and fitness and wellness and feeling good and move that to the top of the priority list, what would the world be like?
The world would be a much better place for it. We would have so many less unnecessary deaths. And we do have that choice. Like a lot of us are living in this mentality that it's the food industry and big pharma that controls it all. And we forget that we do. We are the majority. Consumers, everything that you buy is a vote. Everything you buy with a toxic ingredient is saying that I accept that and that that's okay when it's not. And so when we can start speaking up through our actions and put our money towards what we want because we've become aware and it's become important to us and it's become a focus of us, the industries have no choice but to adapt and but to change. So the control is really in our hands.
That's profound.
And the world, yeah, and the world would
really
be a much
profound.
beautiful place. Yeah, much more beautiful
Sure.
place.
Yeah, and we make change because these big industries will make change. Like when they see that we're not buying their creams because they're loaded with chemicals, they'll remove the chemicals so we continue to buy their creams or whatever else. And same with the foods.
Absolutely.
To feel like we're a victim, honestly, when you started saying that, I'm like, well, we don't really have control over big pharma and big tech. But we do. You're right. Each one of these purchases is a vote. And if we take care of us, like the song says, the man in the mirror, then the whole world can change.
Mm-hmm.
That's a powerful, powerful statement, Michelle. Good exclamation point on this. So is there anything I forgot to ask you about the model or overcoming these mental, physical, and emotional obstacles that seem to be overwhelming to people?
I think we've covered so much on this call, and I'm so grateful. I hope that this has resonated with some people and really been enlightening in the sense that they can take control and of their thinking and therefore take control of their lives.
And I'm sure people are going to want a little bit more information. They can always get in touch with you through the Richer Everyday website. We'll put that link down there.
Yep, absolutely. You can reach out through richereveryday.com, or if you want to work one-on-one, I also do one-on-one coaching, and you can set up a call at richercoaching.com.
Awesome. All right. Both of those URLs will show up here shortly. Michelle, I'm so happy we had this chance to get together and go through all this. I think you put together a really good track for people to run on moving forward.
Thank you. Thank you for putting this together and making an impact on the world.
You're welcome. We'll talk again soon. We'll have you available when we start doing some of the live masterminds with the speakers too.
Sounds great. I'm all in.
All right. Thanks again, Michelle. Have a great day.
You too. Bye.
Bye.